what's the point of closing arguments with 2 weeks to go when so many people have already voted?
Well, the people who are voting are the folks. If you're voting early, it means you're a pretty engaged voter. You know who you're voting for. Those people probably knew who they were voting for 2 to 3 months ago. The point right now is to reach those disengaged voters who are the few people left in America who haven't decided who they want for president. These are folks who, if you're undecided at this stage, you're not really engaged with the political process. And so the two parties are just turning over every rock to try to get those folks out.
Well, it's pretty remarkable as we try to read the tea leaves here a little bit. Your home state of Pennsylvania is important because you can actually track voter registration by party as they drop ballots. So far, over 630 Democrats have voted in Pennsylvania. 300,000 Republicans have dropped ballots. This follows a pattern that a lot of people saw going into this election, doesn't it? 2-1 for Democrats.
It is 2-1 for Democrats, although it's probably a bit of an improvement for Republicans who have been discouraged by Donald Trump from using mail voting. And the advantage, a vote is a vote no matter when it's counted.
Yep. But
the advantage of these mail ballots is that these votes are counted. It's one less door the campaigns have to knock, and it's one less thing that might, if a person has a flat tire or an emergency on Election Day and they don't make it to the polls, their votes are already in there. So both parties really want to bank these votes as much as possible.
And that doesn't just go for the presidential race, but other races as well, including the Senate race, in which Republican Dave McCormick is challenging the incumbent, Senator Bob Casey. And McCormick is running this new ad across the state.
The United States Military Academy, West Point. It gave me the code I live by: duty, honor, country. I'm Dave McCormick. Our country is stuck, and we've got to make a change. Bob Casey's had 18 years, and he's never made a difference.
And according to the Cook Political Report yesterday, who initially thought this would be Leinz Casey, this race is now a toss-up. Jonathan, do you buy it?
I do buy it, and I think it's partly because things have tightened so much within Pennsylvania from the top of the ticket on down. Bob Casey, as the ad makes reference to, is a name. His name goes back not just his own tenure. His father was the governor there, so there's been a Bob Casey getting elected in Pennsylvania for 40 years now. But it's tight, and the longer that someone is in office, the more you get associated with a certain party, and you're less known as kind of the moderate Democrat that he was once seen. He's seen more as a member of the party. And so this is the toughest challenge he has faced. Casey has admitted it himself. It looks like it's going to be very close, just like the presidential race is going to be very close. All
eyes on Pennsylvania with the help of Bloomberg Government's Jonathan Tamari. Jonathan, thank you so much for the insights. The FBI, meantime, is now investigating the leak over the weekend we told you about of classified documents that detailed some of Israel's planned response to Iran's attack from earlier this month. At his roundtable that Kailey mentioned with Latino voters earlier today in Florida, Donald Trump made note.
They leaked all the information about the way that Israel's going to fight and how they're going to fight and where they're going to go. And somebody, who did that? Can you imagine somebody doing that? That's the enemy. I guess that maybe is the enemy from within, as I talk about.
Another reference to the enemy within as we turn to Bloomberg's Michelle Jamrisko. For more on this, Michelle, thanks for being with us. The FBI investigation kind of heightens the urgency around this whole story. I don't know how much we're going to learn over the course of this campaign, but could this be slowing down Israel's response as it repositions, having been exposed to some extent here with satellite imagery?
Well, it's unclear. That's certainly a threat here. I think we can start with one glimmer of hope is that contrary to kind of the characterization you heard from Donald Trump, that it is relatively limited information that was exposed. So we all kind of are still in the dark as to how Israel and when Israel will respond, even though President Biden says he knows that already and is not sharing, obviously, for obvious reasons. But it does undercut, some key arguments, including political arguments, in terms of U.S. intelligence agencies being organized and having things under wraps as they normally should be, as well as kind of an institutional issue. I mean, this comes as we're also dealing with, of course, a lot of questions around the Secret Service and are they well funded? Are they organized well enough? And all of those arguments, fair or not, are falling in Trump's favor as he kind of continues to try to portray this administration as being kind of loosey-goosey, not able to control itself. Now, what we know also that the U.S. intelligence officials have said is that they don't believe this was a foreign adversary at work here. So it is something that perhaps is from within, however you want to characterize that.
Yeah.
And it follows on the heels of, several other similar incidents in recent years, including last year. You might remember the National Guardsman who leaked information on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So not helpful, also makes a pretty awkward moment between U.S. and Israel at this point.
Well, and speaking of, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Israel. He met today with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And according to the State Department's readout of that meeting, they talked about new possibilities for ending the conflict in Gaza after Israel's successful killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Are we getting actually closer to a ceasefire, or is this more optimistic talk as we've seen in the past?
It's hard to say. I mean, it looks like this trip is starting out for Blinken as just as painstaking as the previous 10 to the region for him. I mean, we talked about that meeting earlier. It looks like, yes, they have agreed that there is some, opportunity here out of Sinwar's death, but it's worth noting that each probably sees that opportunity a little differently. Israel seeing an opportunity to continue momentum in their attacks and on both fronts and kind of continue and try to finish off the war in a military sense. Whereas the U.S. is kind of coming at it, especially from Secretary Blinken, from an angle of let's see if we can get some ceasefires going, and ceasefires plural, not just in Gaza, but also now on the Lebanon front. That looks increasingly elusive at this point. Both fronts are very live, as we've seen, and are still very active. And this is all, of course, awaiting that retaliation on Iran that we're expecting any day now.